What the heck is Chuck doing on here?
Chuck, the super nerd.
What's Chuck doing on here?
What's up, Chuck?
Aren't you driving someplace?
Brent, Rattlecan, Jeff. Oh, I this is like a landmine. I didn't mean to press this. Oh my. It's this, you guys.
So
$1,700. It was a professional yodeler that recorded this.
So, chat, just a second ago, I asked him if I could see the yodeling pickle.
You want to touch
No,
my...
don't do it now.
You want to touch my pickle?
Don't do it now. I asked him. I came in here. I said, hey, Chris, let me see the yodeling pickle. And before I asked for the yodeling pickle, I said, I'm retiring.
Yep.
I said, I'm retiring from painting.
Yeah.
And he said, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. Let me see the yodeling pickle. He said, no. Shot me down in flames. Said, no, you can't. This is only for serious business stuff. Serious business paint.
Is that
things.
Not true?
And that is not true. He lies to me. Then he told me it was $1,700 for the pickle, which is also a lie. So that's 2 lies in a row. And then he said, then he lied again, or reinforced the first lie, because what does he do as soon as the stream starts when there's no serious business paint stuff going on? He hits the pickle. He just hits the pickle. He just sets the pickle off for no reason. Absolutely no reason to set that pickle off, Christopher.
Yeah. You
have to put up with chat?
One
and then
of
he
those,
tries to hand it to me like, oh, I mean, maybe now you can touch it.
One of those statements was actually not a lie. One of them. You'll have to decide, world. Welcome in, America.
One of my statements?
One of my statements.
All of your statements are lies.
Me? Are you talking... The vitriol. What's the word I'm looking for?
You already said it.
The vitriol. The
vitriol.
The Valaprius.
The amount of disdain with which Jason speaks to me.
Hey guys, look, I did my job. I cleaned the palette. But I did not reset Project Neutral. Welcome in, everybody. We got Lumberjack, Jeff, Roadside, Saga, Sega, Vega, Da Billy Bob Pay. Welcome in, everybody. We're finishing up this Duchess Prime today. We're going to do some doots and deets. And by deets, I mean doots. And by deets, I mean doots. And doots and deets, everybody. Welcome in. Jason, how are you feeling today? You're going to wrap this thing up. Hello. Welcome in. Wake up. Let's go. Chop, chop. Paint, paint. We're excited to see this thing in that frame and hung behind you. Where should I hang it, Jason, on the set? Could I hang it like...
It's going home. You don't get it. You don't get to touch my stuff.
This is your home.
Okay, so I want to let you also know what other catastrophes I walked into.
What?
All my stuff has been touched and moved.
All
of my blood angels are moved.
I cleaned them.
3 of them are broken.
They're not broken. They're definitely not broken.
3 of them are completely broken now.
3 of them are not completely broken.
All of my Star Wars stuff is on the floor.
I cleaned this studio like...
All of my Wookiees and my Rebels are just on the floor.
They're not on the floor. They're on a box that's on the floor.
They're on the floor.
That's on a beautiful tray that's covered.
They are closer to the floor than they are to the desk.
I'll say this. I clean this studio like defusing a bomb. Every single time. I do it well, and I do it very well.
Nothing's where it should be.
I think Chris ate lunch. No, I did not, Rattlecan. I walked many a mile today.
I went home, and I ate lunch with the girls.
Nice.
Well, 2 of the girls. Jen's at a thing.
Oh.
So I had lunch with the dogs.
Double T, what's the next project? After this, Jason is going to paint 3 different faces at 3 different levels. That is our next project in between the... what was that?
I don't know. I can't see through these.
Your normal glasses?
I don't have a producer that cleans my glasses. So what am I supposed to do?
I gotta clean the glasses too? Oh.
So
there we go. You just had a donut.
So whenever there is something standing in the way of the talent's performance.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas and night. Here it is. Let's go.
I love we got to Jiminy Christmas really quick.
What is this?
So whenever there's something standing in the way of the talent's ability
to perform. Okay, tracking. It is up to the producer. To get them back on track.
All barriers standing in the way of the talent's ability to perform correctly.
Is it up to the producer or the director?
I learned this in my years in pornography.
Okay, I'm really. It's even funnier when you look over here and I see your eyes for your readers that are like, all, they're just magnified. So that's what we're doing after this. But Jason yesterday was finishing up with the deets on this thing, which really made it look brighter, believe it or not.
Yeah, we did the brighter highlights around the head.
Jason, look, we can see where your paint is now.
The head.
Up on the
I can
palette.
find it.
There you go.
I can see. I'm a real boy.
Welcome in. Who do we got? Ogre. Hope everyone's day is going well. It's going okay. That Chai Cat says, wow, Chris intentionally keeping Jason's glasses dirty is elder abuse. False. I'm older than Jason, Spotify told us.
Spotify did prove.
Brent loves it when Jason talks in the third person. Christopher also likes that.
I talked in the third person?
Yeah.
What did I do?
You were talking about the talent.
Oh, yeah.
That's technically the third person, right?
Well, we have more talent than me here. Chris has got a big responsibility.
Huge responsibility.
What if Gabe were on the stream?
I'm either been hit by a bus, B, I'm deathly ill, or C, I have taken a lover. That's
taken a lover?
I don't know. I was just trying to come up with a
Or
C.
C, I've taken a lover. What is taken a lover? That seems nefarious.
I've taken a lover.
I've taken a lover.
Now, Jason, what brush size are you using for your doots and deets?
Whichever one I like.
But which one do you typically use?
I typically use the size 2.
Mm-hmm.
I am not doing that.
Okay.
Right now, this is the size 1 that I had up here.
And you don't go below a size 1.
Nah, very rarely.
Just because of the amount of water in the brush?
Yeah, very rarely do I go lower than a size 1. There's times where if we're dotting I's, on tiny figures that I could see using a 0 or a 10-aught, or a 00. But for most of what I do, the size 1 is as small as I'll go.
Okay.
Our brushes typically hold a very good point. So you can still get quite a bit of detail work done with a larger brush. And I'm always telling people to attempt to do so. Try to go with the smallest or with the largest brush you can, even on the smallest details.
Daka's asking, for the go bag, the only plastic ones I found of the buckets with the thumb holes, should I just use a sheet of styrene? Oh, I'm afraid of using a glass palette in the go bag. You're probably seeing our hobby mat, if that's what you're talking about. The little plastic thing in the go bag picture.
What's the question though?
He was saying that in the photo you show a plastic palette. No. Where would you find that? The only plastic ones I can find? No, there's no plastic palette in the photo.
Is there any photo that shows the white plastic palettes that I use?
Maybe? I don't know, actually. That's a great question. But just to answer your question, Daka, is you don't want to put... How would you protect a glass palette for travel?
I don't travel with them. I'm
No,
always
you just
worried
use...
about it, right?
Here's something that Jason used. He just uses like Gray
Palette paper.
Matters palette paper.
Yeah, I just use the Gray Matters palette paper pad, and that's all I take.
Which actually is the best traveling situation for dry palette too. What's up, Mo? No, I mean the white palette on the side. I have no idea what you're talking about.
There may be a photo that has like my plastic palette.
An example or something like that.
Yeah, it would just be like in a photo, not to sell the product, but
right.
Showing what you could do. We were thinking about making a white plastic palette.
Okay, actually, it looks like a piece of palette paper, but I think that is one. I get what you're saying. That's just like an acrylic white piece of plastic.
Yeah, it's just a piece of acrylic with a coating on it. But the problem with them was that they tended to have the paint stick too drastically to it.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that. I've been trying to clean that palette.
It's almost impossible.
For
that's why we never came out with
the
that
last
product.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
I just
we
haven't
never came out with that
gotten
product because if the paint dries on it, it's almost like you have to sand it clean, and then it has a texture to it. It's just a pain in the butt. So
Kruger says, what will happen if I paint on a non-primed miniature? The world will explode.
Oh my God, don't do it. We all want to live.
We have brush on primer. We have rattle can primer. We have airbrush primer.
You can do it. You can do it. It just will not give you a really good base layer of adhesion for models that you plan to like push around the table. So if they're wargaming models that you plan to actually use for gaming, always prime them.
Well, and also Kruger, I mean, definitely get the brush on primer, if anything. It's in the small bottle. It's totally worth it, and we make the best brush on primer out there. I'm not even just saying that either. It's amazing. The first time I used it, I was super surprised. Even Vince was. He's like, this stuff is amazing. Vince did a whole bit on that video where he talks about it.
Yeah, and I don't think he was really ready.
He wasn't.
For the brush on primer to be very good.
Well, Louise did it too. So at Adepticon at the booth, she's like, hey, I found this mini. Do we have any primer? I'm like, yeah. And I primed it, and she loved it. So it definitely, buy the brush on primer. Sarcastic Grandpa, 16 months. What's up? Ronan says, I'm painting the new Fulgrim model and want to make his snake body look greasy wet like a real snake. What's the best way to pull off that effect? Gloss varnish or some other wizardry?
It's like painting non-metallic metal. You can use gloss varnish. It's gonna look like gloss varnish, right? I don't like gloss varnish because it brings the light in the room into play for your reflection and winds up being fake. It looks really like, plastic Target toys rather than deliberate to match all the rest of your painting. So I'm not a big fan of gloss varnish for those effects. I use gloss varnish very sparingly on maybe eyes to make eyes look wet. But when it's something where you're saying you want like the whole snake body of Fulgrim to be that wet look, it's better to just do the high contrast highlight on things. Like we're doing right now with the non-metallic metal. I'm putting a very bright highlight over my midtones so that I get a lot of contrast in a very tight area. That same method is what you would do, like all the shine on her gives that reflectiveness. And when you do it on scales, people's brains will immediately think that, oh yeah, that's like that shiny wet look.
Yeah. Mondays, what's up, y'all? I saw the layering glazing video released today, and it clicked on why I'm struggling with glazing. The extra water on the brush was killing me. Nice. I released that brush control glazing and layering.
Oh, yeah.
And I've watched it like 3 times because I was struggling too Mondays. But yeah, definitely check that video out. We posted that around noon. So, which is, why not share it, Chris? Okay, Chris. Blang. There you go. Check that video out. Got a lot of good tips in there.
Chris, we live in the world of links.
Kablam. Linked.
You can link things.
Kruger's saying, so why does everybody use black primers then? I see a bunch of, but still there are different kinds of color primers for selling.
Sure.
Why is black such a popular primer?
Black gives you the immediate shadow to build up from and is, in most cases, the best way to prime because of that. Like I said, it's or like you'll hear me say quite often, being able to start from a level where your model has all of the dark shadows baked onto it is really good and tends to make more sense to people than trying to build up from white, where you have to either do your midtones and then highlights and shadows over it, which can cause both right way to say this, a brain conundrum, because you're having to think more about paint placement
brain conundrum
when you do that, but also a physical problem where you have to be able to get dark colors into areas on the model that are not easy to paint at all. So
black
you're always fighting the shape of the model more when you start with a brighter primer.
And I guess if somebody likes the traditional, or I guess it's not traditional, the gray The mid-tone
Uh-huh.
primer, what would that be for?
I mean, same thing. It's there so that you can prime. I use the gray and the white in my zenithal.
Okay.
So I will start with a black base,
And
then
then
I
you-
will do a gray mid-tone and a white highlight.
A light
and that
white.
then gives me a really good value sketch on the model that I can build off of with all of my coloring, no matter how I paint. So when we talk about that kind of, zenithal value sketch, that's the way I do that, using the gray and the white. But the gray works great on its own as well and gives you kind of a mid-tone. If you don't like black, but you want to start a little darker, you're still going to have to force your shading on the model, but it'll be already a little bit darker.
Yeah.
A lot darker than just white.
And then Kruger's saying, so what about green, though?
Well,
Why
green
is
is a
there a
good base
green?
tone. I use a lot of the colored primers over black.
As a colored zenithal or just in general?
Just in general. I mean, you've seen me just
Right.
prime models in the dark purple and
Oh, yeah. I guess
stuff
it's
like
just
that.
to give your base shadow a different color, Kruger.
Yeah.
Without going too much into...
and to act as a base
why.
tone for the model that you're painting. A lot of times when I'm painting things like World War II or military green style tanks, doing it in the black brown with the green over the top works great. It allows you in the time where you would be doing 2 or 3 coats of primer, you can do your first one dark, your second one as a color that you plan to use, and so on.
Yeah. Night Moon, what's going on? Long time no chat.
Gesundheit.
Shout out to Dark Plum being the base color for my whole EC army, says Ronan.
Ha.
Nice.
Dark plum is great.
Papa Chicken, Jason, can you read this for me?
Hang on.
I think this best comes from you.
Oh, I'm not getting led down that.
No, you'll like this one.
Don't tell me what I like.
This is for Jason.
I really don't want to read it.
We're gonna patiently wait, Papa Chicken. He's doing Doots and Deets. Dark Plum is amazing, by the way, Ronan. I agree with you. Nice. Say it really loud for the people in the back.
Chat,
Oh.
might thou know where Napoleon kept his armies? But of course, he kept them up his sleeveys.
What a delivery. That deserves a real clap, not even the sound box.
What do you think would make that better?
Turning back time.
The therapy man has all the right answers at the right times. That thing scares me. It
He
is
really
literally
does.
like the soul of a therapist that is trapped in that box.
And Kruger says, one last question. Why do yellow not cover well? It always needs 4 to 5 layers.
What are you trying to put it over? It covers fine over brighter colors.
There's your answer right there.
So yellow and brighter colors in general are not meant to go over dark colors. I think that it's a misconception for people who come into the hobby who are learning in that layering of color schematic that we find a lot of people trying to do, like yellow over a black primer. Well, you would never do that in a perfect world. You would always put maybe a brown or an orange and then do the yellow over that and layer your colors up. You know, we talk a lot in terms of when we paint yellow, there's not a lot of the principal yellow color used in the painting of yellow. We use those colors leading up to that yellow.
To yellow.
Right. So I might, I don't have a good example here in front of me, but I might start with, right, orange oxide.
Love orange oxide.
Dark umber underneath, right? So I'll do like a layer of dark umber, then orange oxide, and then warm yellow over the top of that.
Yeah.
The warm yellow will cover the orange oxide. The orange oxide will cover the brown better, and this will give me a much better yellow look, more akin to like on here.
Yeah.
Right? This was mahogany, burnt orange, and yellow. And a pale yellow and then yellow transparent. Right? But you get a much better yellow because all of those colors you painted over give it its shading, right? And then the real part that you're focusing on needing to be yellow are those big bright midtones, and the shadows can be their own color. Yeah. To do black and then try to put yellow over black will always give you problems because yellow is a more translucent pigment. So it won't cover. And if you get a yellow that covers in like one or two, it will be filled with so much white that it'll never mix well, and it won't have a lot of vibrancy. It'll be bright, but it won't have like, you know, the warmth you want, things like that.
Nice. Old Gamer, great question. No need to apologize for questions ever. Good evening. After my order that I really like the PO paints. Nice. Okay.
I assume Pro Acrylic.
Yeah, I'm assuming that too. I may be looking to expand my Pro Acrylic paints with washes or transparents, but what are the transparent paints? Is it a glaze or kind of wash? Or for what to use it?
The transparent paints are single pigment, high intensity, low viscosity paints, which I don't know how much that's going to mean to you.
I also have a great.
They are paints where let me just get like blue transparent and what's close. I don't have that pigment necessarily in a an opaque paint, but I'm gonna get blue transparent and dark blue. Okay, not the same color, but close enough. Okay, so dark blue as an opaque paint. If I just take dark blue, put a little bit out on the palette, take some transparent blue.
Oh, let me go over to the palette here.
Put it out on the palette.
Paletteception.
Right.
Yep.
So the transparent blue is going to be a brighter blue in its hue, but they're similar enough. So
that video
will
will
tell
also
what I'm doing here. Right. So then I'll just get a brush and I'm going to wipe most of the water off. So it's a fairly dry brush. This doesn't have much moisture on it other than the moisture needed to let the paint flow.
Yeah.
If I come over here and grab some dark blue and I paint dark blue on my hand and I paint over this tooth, right? You'll notice how with the paint right out of the bottle, where did the tooth, I mean, you can see there was a tooth there because I'm painting in a tooth shape. But if I just cover it, then the tooth is gone.
Yeah.
Because the paint's opaque. Okay.
Right.
The same way with my brush. I'll clean my brush to get all the color off of it, and then I'll dry it off as close to completely. I don't want it completely dry because a completely dry brush won't let paint flow off of it, but it doesn't have any moisture on it now, other than a little bit to let the paint flow. And I'll go grab the transparent blue, and with no messing around with it, when I put it over my tattoo, you'll notice immediately that as I paint, you can see things beneath it. Okay, so there's no opacifiers, there's no additives. This is just pure blue pigment that allows it to be subtly transparent.
Yeah.
And then I can now use this to my advantage by taking and adding some water to my brush and now thinning that down on the palette, right? And now when I paint, I can make it to where I can see even more underneath it, right? So if I go over the green tongue here, I'm going to get a blue-green, like a seafoam green color out of that, right? Because it's going to let the colors that you paint it over kind of blend with it a little bit more in terms of being a glaze or a wash or any kind of filter you want to use, right?
Yeah.
So the transparents are just easier to use to get to that transparency because they're that way natively. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're also very, very vibrant, so you can mix them with the other colors. You can mix them around however you want. There's no limitations to them. They're not different types of paints. It's not like enamels or anything like that. So you can literally take them and mix them with the normal line of colors. Mix them with metallics. I really love to do. They are probably the most flexible paint that we make. I would say that they're even more flexible than the expert acrylics because they are already fluid. So you can airbrush with them easier. You can, glaze and paint off the brush with them however you like. The only thing they don't really do well is dry brush because they're not meant for that, right? So they're probably not going to do any kind of dry brushing that you really enjoy. But what happens if you use a warm undercoat and a cold color on top of it? Does it just look weird? Some eye tricky? No, not at all. So we did this guy, and he has royal purple.
Yep.
Right, as a shadow on, and then the gray blues and white blues over the top of the royal purple, and I think that looks really cool. Pop in really close. Right, I think it makes for a really nice shadow. Right, so you can do stuff like that where you've got the warmer undertone of the royal purple, right? That magenta starts popping out, and then you can go cool colors on top of it. If you do something like a bright red as an undertone for like blue, then it's going to look more like there's a glow, like a fiery glow or something. So sometimes it can become an effect, and you may not be looking for an effect. You may just be looking for warmth versus cool contrast. But yeah, I use warm colors underneath cold colors all the time. A lot of times the way that I do my non-metallic gold is using a dark yellow green as a base. That's the way I'm doing all of my Blood Angels. Right? And the way that I'm doing my gold is what I would call a cooler gold.
A cool gold.
But I'm doing the dark yellow green underneath, and the dark yellow green underneath allows the gold to have a kind of a warmer undertone from the green. Even though yellow itself is a traditionally, warmer color, like I've been doing on here when you do the gold with the oranges and such underneath, it's definitely lots different. So it's kind of up to you. There's no rhyme or there's no rules that regulate it for you or anything.
I think, I going back to the transparents, I have just started discovering playing with them in the airbrush, and they've been game changer.
Oh, they're tremendous.
Like
they were meant. The whole reason we did them was to be able to replace in the hobby the need for inks.
Right.
Because inks do not usually get made with an acrylic resin that is meant for three-dimensional surfaces.
Yeah.
The inks that you find out there, De La Rowley and all of the artistic inks, even if they say they're acrylic inks, they're made to go on surfaces like wood or canvas, things like that, and aren't really made for plastic substrates and stuff. They need to still go on something that's porous.
Nice.
So there you go.
Is
Bingo.
that's it? Is it complete?
Bingo. I like.
Wow.
I like. There's still some things I might play with, but this is the point where I would stop and look at it for a while and then go back and say, do I want to pump any more contrast into the dark areas between like the burgundy cloth and the grayish white,
What else would you do?
Ruffles.
What else would you do on this? This looks, it looks great.
Nah, I call it done for now. And then, like I said, I typically look at projects like this and let them simmer for a while and then come back and say, what would I do to change anything here? And really happy with the way the bronze turned out. Yeah. Our brightest values are on the metal for her skin, right? Yep. And then the gold. And then the stones, because the stones you can imagine as being polished, so they would have a brighter shine to them and things like that. So, should you start with for gray skin? Should you start with paints? Start with Payne's gray for deep shadows and work up to light gray with blends, or what I'd rather do underpaint and glaze with pale blue into gray. What should you use for the underpaint for gray skin?
Ooh.
So gray is another one of those alien colors that, yes, you can, you're not generally going to see gray skin. If you want to underpaint, you're having to ask yourself the question, what do the guts of the gray skinned thing look like? Is it human and the skin's just gray? So you have red blood, meat and fat and all that under the tissue is going to be colored with the red blood. So you're going to have the magentas and the pinks and the reds. The yellows for the fatty cells and greens and things like that, because you can underpaint just like you do for like Caucasian flesh or whatever, and then just do grays over the top, and start with something like either warm gray or neutral gray and go over the top and glaze, and then you'll get good coloring underneath. I mean, we use the underpainting trick for these guys where it was the the dark purple and the magenta, and then I use red gray over the top.
Yeah.
So, and then I started up to olive flesh. So the olive flesh gives a little more warmth on here. And I think we even did a couple of areas where we hit it with like a little bit of yellow transparent, very, very thin, where you can see kind of the warm sunlight hitting the skin. But the idea here was to have kind of a grayish, lives in a cave type skin. The red gray gave it a little bit of an earthy tone. But this was all done over the same underpainting with the greens and reds and purples that I would normally use. And so you can see it has a very dramatic effect and works really well no matter what color you put it under. You just want to make sure that you start with a mid-level value gray. Like I said, neutral gray or warm gray. Don't go to the dark ones and don't go too bright.
Joshua said you tried the airbrush primer. I know you were talking about that last night or
Awesome.
yesterday, and I'm glad it's working
No
for
thinner.
you.
Yep, no thinner.
That's from Impulsor.
Does heavy iron in the water affect the paint color and the smoothness of laying the paint on? And does heavy iron water also destroy brushes? What alternative can I take if any of this is a yes?
We have a very good control here.
In Arizona, I will tell you we have quite possibly the nation's third, fourth, or fifth worst water supply in the United States. Heavy minerals. And so tons of calcium, iron, like the calcification you get from water buildup on dripping pipes here is insane.
It's pretty rough.
It's so gross. It looks like you're on
Hard
like
water.
the Titanic and it's been sunk for 80 years. It's horrible. And I paint with tap water. So like if anything, I would say it's the opposite. It's probably the
it's the minerals that make the piece
it's the
better.
minerals that make the paint.
We're adding minerals. We're adding additional pigments.
Yeah, we literally, I don't care. I use whatever water. My whole life I've never been a proponent of using like filtered water or anything like that.
RO.
I don't know that I ever thought about not using filtered water. I just know you don't have to. I use tap water and it works fine. It should not cause any problems on your brushes, so long as you don't leave your brushes like sat in it all the time, right? Transparent paints are also perfect for that overheated gun barrel. Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
They're very easy to get to be able to do filters like that. I have a question for you. I painted a planet. You painted a planet? That takes a lot of paint. And now wanted to see that. Where's my drum roll? Where's my
A planet? I don't even.
He's still stunned. I painted a planet, now wanted to paint the dark side, including a Terminator line. How would you approach that? A Terminator line?
What's a Terminator?
Help me understand what you mean. You painted a planet and now wanted to paint the dark side, including a Terminator line. How would you approach that?
Oh,
So if you're doing a sphere where you have a lit side and a dark side, I'm assuming that's what you mean, and your Terminator line being the distinguishing area in between light and dark, right? That is all that Terminator area, that Terminator line where you have on the face of a sphere, you have light and then you have dark because you have like a sun, a singular light source, and anything else would be, I mean, if you had a moon, it could reflect and all that, right? But you have a light and a dark color. You choose how dark you want to go. I typically say you don't go to like black or whatever. You do something that's, imagining reflective light. But in planet sense, that's not necessarily the case. When it's dark on the dark side of the moon, it's black, right? There's not a lot of light intrusion unless you have another large body reflecting. So unlike when we paint models that are sitting on the ground and the ground is a reflector, right? A body orbiting in space does not necessarily need a secondary light source or have a secondary light source. So you can almost go to black, but I would say dark neutral grays, dark grays, things like that. Give it the contrast you need without forcing black, because black is as dark as you can go, and that lets you use black as deeper shadows. On that line where you get your light and your dark coming together across a sphere, you're going to get a fade. You're going to get that light's intensity fades off as it goes around. It's why when you look at a sphere that's backlit, you get a halo of light around it, like when you see the eclipse.
Oh, yes.
Right? When
That
like a total
ring?
eclipse and you'll see a halo of light around.
Yeah.
You're not seeing the sun around the moon. You're seeing the light as it is reflecting across that sphere to you, creates a halo of glow. And so you would have that. And so you wouldn't take a long area to blend probably. And depending on the surface of the planet, if it had mountains or things like that that you're also doing, if it's a perfect sphere, then it can go pretty tight, bright to dark. If it has surface area on it, like mountain ranges and variations in elevation, then you can use that to transition. But just a tight blend right there would be great. You go from bright to mid-tone to dark. You know, really like 3 colors. You used a very thin green and yellow transparent as a filter. Awesome. Yeah. You lost all your color modulation that you airbrushed on the panels. I used a paintbrush over the whole model with the transparents. Did I do something wrong? Should I use transparents in the airbrush on smaller sections? It could be that your modulation was too fine and not high enough contrast. Whenever you're going to do a filter over the top of anything, you need to make sure that you have higher contrast of your blends beneath your filter, period. Doesn't matter if you're doing an oil wash, airbrush filter, brush filter like you're doing with the transparents or whatever. You need to make sure that the transparents that you use, you thin them way down, because you saw how when I put the blue on my hand, even though you could see through it, it turned everything like heavy blue, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you thin your filter, and I always teach to over thin, meaning that you want it less opaque than you need it, so that you can build up 2 layers or 3 layers to get your color where you're happy with it, so that you preserve the underpainting easier. If you don't, and it's easy to just cover the underpainting and your blends and all of that. So when I hear that you're losing your modulation might not have had enough contrast to it in the first place, and then the filter will blend your colors. And so if your colors, like let's say I was modulating the surface of a tank and I used dark yellow green and then went to yellow green and then went to faded green and yellow green over the top of that, there's not going to be enough of a contrast between those colors. When I look at them raw, they're going to look good. I'm going to go from dark to light and it looks weathered and all that and desaturated. But then if I were to apply a brown filter over the top of all that, I would look like the brown filter almost went over just one color of green. You might get a little bit of highlight and then the rest dark, because it's going to blend all of that together. So whenever I'm planning on doing filters, I do more contrast than you think you need, because the filter is going to create more of that mid-tone stretch and blend for you on those. It's hard to really describe it without showing it. But that's what we always talk about. If you know going in, you're going to do a filter over the top, then make sure you amplify your contrast a little bit more exaggeratedly than you would normally. So use brighter color over darker color, right? Don't do as much smooth blending at that point, because you'll lose that transition.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason, for the tips.
Transparent yellow over the jades makes a really amazing green. Yep, it sure does.
Transparent
yellow over the jades. Yeah, or the turquoises too makes it really neat. The turquoise will give you a brighter green. Can you help me how to do a marble effect? What I did didn't look very good. I used white, ivory, gray, and then some black lines with metallic medium in between. Or do you have an example someplace?
Ooh, Sierra Elven Blood 71. Welcome in, Raiders.
Sierra, what's going on?
Sierra,
good to see
welcome in.
Hopefully you're doing well. Welcome, Raiders.
Marble.
We just had a question in chat about how to do marble. Chris, have I done any marble anytime recently?
Actually, you said marble, so no, you haven't done marble. That was years ago when you did Usharon.
Yeah, it was.
You want to show us?
Yeah, it was.
There's a white texture trainer right by you.
I'm not going to go through and do the whole thing for marbling. I think that I'll show you. Okay, I will. I'll show you something that I typically do. Let me find something here
for marble
that might help you. I'm not going to go through a very huge detailed thing here but I'll show you some things that I would do.
Welcome in, Raiders.
Okay. So for marble, let's just pick some. What colors were you using? Gray, white, ivory. What gray? Used white, ivory, and then some black lines. I'm going to just get like warm gray, right?
We actually get this quite a bit.
I'm going to get warm gray. I'm going to get bright warm gray.
There's so many different methods to do it. I've seen the dryer sheet thing. I've seen a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's the easiest way, believe it or not.
Really? The dryer sheet way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, using dryer sheets or even steel wool. Something, baby wipes. The baby wipes are nice if you let them dry out. Then when you pull them apart, you get that threaded texture to them. Dryer sheets the same way. So then you start to stretch them apart, and as they pull before they break, they give you all that veining, and then you airbrush. But you have to airbrush. I guess you could also sponge or dry brush that on. But I'll show you the way that I do it just with a regular brush. Okay.
Okay. Welcome in, Raiders. Do some marbling really quick, it looks like here.
And I don't know, you could use any colors on this. You basically just want kind of like a dark tone, like a mid-dark tone, like the warm gray, a bright warm gray, which is still, in my case, an earthy tone. And then I am going to grab some titanium white on here. And then I'm going to need something for the veining. I'm going to grab like dark burgundy.
Would you typically start with a white base for marble?
I know I've started everything from black.
Okay.
All right, I'm just going to grab a big messy brush and we're going to do this skull as if it was a marble skull. So I'm going to leave a lot of water on my brush so that my paint is fairly thin, right? And then we're just going to go, this is going to be bright on the gray because we're painting it over the white, right? But I'm going to put that on there. Again, I'm going to go quick, so my brush strokes are probably going to be pretty sloppy. I'll try to keep it off the hands and such if I can. But I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to be fairly sloppy here. So I will base coat like I always do with a dark color, which kind of defeats the purpose of using the white primer like people were asking before. I'll just do enough to get this one side of the head here. Okay. So it, you can see it kind of acts as almost like a wash because I did it so thin. Then I'm going to take my dark color right now, my dark burgundy in this case, and I'm going to do some of the veining here while the paint is still wet and with water on my brush so that it kind of blurs the edges. And just kind of work it around in whatever pattern you want to, right? Guess I could have done better here and actually finished the skull area down this way.
Oh. I didn't know. I didn't even notice.
I got all excited that I did the other side and was like, I'm done. I'm not done. Boy, some of these we use our factory second
oh yeah,
models for this, and this one has like lots of spots where the resin's all joined. I haven't seen one like this before.
Some of these are the old rejects that I pull for just quick examples.
Yeah, we keep a bucket of rejects laying around that we will use for this.
What's up, Pikmin?
Yeah. So after my base layer is when I'll go in and add the beginnings of my veining for the marbling. Right? You can get as crazy as you want. I'm just going to put enough on here so you can see the effect. Okay, something like that. Maybe we have this one cut across all of these like that. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and get a lot more water on my brush. I'm going to now move to the bright warm gray. And this is going to be something that acts more like a glaze. And I'll start doing it over this first part here. And I'll just kind of stipple my color on. I'm not trying to do complete coverage. I'm just kind of bashing the brush into the surface.
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
With a really thin paint, as you can tell. Take a lot of it off on my thumb, and then come back in here and just kind of poke it around on the model.
Okay.
Right? It'll blend with those colors a little bit if I'm going fast
yeah,
like
yeah.
I am, right?
Uh-huh.
But again, I'm not doing anything you can't do. This is literally just haphazard, sloppy painting. I might go back and stipple in a couple more bright areas. Very wet. You can see the paint's almost floating. Not quite watercolor style, but wet enough that it's blending with everything below it. Okay? And I keep coming over and getting my brush with a little bit more paint, wiping it off. And then while the paint's still wet on here, just keep loading paint onto the surface, poking it in, getting me some bright areas. What this has done is bled my veining, where my veining now is the under color for the way the marbling works, because you'll notice that marbling has such a unique way of layering, because you're talking about like a quartz style material, right? It has layers, and that veining happens layer by layer, so
Right.
it looks blurry in some spots and in focus in others.
Yeah.
Right. I'm moving too fast, so you'll see back here where my paint wasn't dry on my base coat that now I've got the tear. I'm down to primer back here because I was going too fast. So I'll grab a little bit of the gray and kind of get that back in there.
Oh, I didn't even notice it.
It was moving paint around down to primer.
For a second, I thought it was like blending it a little bit.
Can you give me your little air dryer thing?
Heck yeah, brother.
But hopefully you can already see how this early kind of wet blend style thing works. I don't remember how this works. Oh, there we go. It works like a champ.
It's great. This is a really cool example of wet blending, too.
Yeah, that was really almost too wet, but yes.
Okay.
When you have more time, this isn't as flirtatious or disastrous as when I'm trying to move fast like this. So then I'll go back to the bright warm gray.
Yep.
Right, a little bit more opacity to it, and I will go kind of in between my areas where my veining was.
You come down a little bit. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Again, using very wet paint so that I'm creating texture with it. Remember, one of the hardest things when recreating natural material is the randomness that occurs in nature. That's why I like this kind of very brute force pushing of paint onto the model.
Yeah.
Worry less about the backside and more about up here, but I'll just kind of squib that together. Don't get any hard edges. Okay. Then I will go back with my dark burgundy in this case. I don't know why I chose dark burgundy. I just kind of wanted something that was more like a granite red vein, right? Now you'll come back and more delicately add in that veining. So wherever I have veins that touch, I'll pop in a little bit more color, and then I'll thin it out as it goes away from there. Maybe lift it so it doesn't quite touch the model in certain areas, so it goes almost away to nothing. And then push a little harder and have it come back like that. And, you can follow along exactly where you had your other lines, or you can just make them new ones, right? Because the other ones kind of gave it the ability to have all of this stuff kind of fall into that layered look. So you get the idea that it has depth rather than just being one set of veining or something like that. Now, the other color I got here was white. So it's going to be really bright. But again, I'm going to use a lot of water on my brush and probably bring the white over into the gray a little bit to give it a little bit more earthy tone. Play around. And then I would come in and not go over my veining anymore. Now I'm just going to use this as a highlight, and I'm going to come in and just kind of stipple or paint into the areas in between the veins.
Yeah.
Where I want there to be highlighting. And if I get a little bit over the vein, not a big deal. I can come back in and redo the veining. Maybe texture that a little bit too. I am getting the benefit of a little bit of wet blending just because I'm moving so fast, but you don't have to. It's causing the colors to kind of blur a little bit here, but
This is great. Would be a cool skeleton effect too, just on the skull.
again, the area where I'm putting color and avoiding the lines makes the area around the lines darker, which again drops them lower from the surface.
Yeah.
Right? So it creates that false feeling of depth by not having paint run all the way up, which is why I do the dark lines first and then paint the brightness in between them. And then we'll go a little bit brighter with the white here.
And Ogre says, so the super wet paint allows it to show through the underneath colors.
Yeah. Then we go back with the white and again bring it inside the lines a little bit more. As a highlight, you're just trying to avoid your veining and pulling the highlight away from the veins so that it gives them almost a weird shadow around them. And I'm just kind of stippling. I'm not going for smoothness here. You could obviously blend this as smooth as you would like to. I'm not really worried about it. I think you guys get the gist of what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to take your wet brush and kind of smooth that out, you could. This is just taking the brush with a little bit of water on it.
That looks great.
And obviously you could choose any colors you want. The idea being that, if you go with a dark color first, then I say a dark color, you want a mid dark color. You need something darker for the veining, right? But you put kind of a middle dark color on there like we did with the warm gray.
Right.
And then over the top of that, do your veining. Then use a very wet, if you like in this is the dark gray, then use a very wet medium gray. Glaze it over the top of everything. Now I went really quick, so we got some blurring of color where it did that because of the wet blending, which is cool, but not necessary. But you'll glaze over the top of that, which makes all of your veining kind of disappear into a lower level, brings a brighter color on it. Then you do your veining again, right?
Yep.
and reinforce it, which you could do with another color. I could have used the dark burgundy here and then gone back with a dark black brown or a black, or I try not to use black because it looks like more like cracks than veining.
Right.
Something like a dark gray or black brown or something like that gives you a little bit more earthy tone. And you put that and you can go back over those or shadow them or lay a whole nother pattern on top of it, whatever you want, and then glaze in between the lines after that. And then of course, if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to have this be something where there were surface cracks, because marble isn't always polished, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you might have it to where you have some of these cracks or these veins that are actually like you could feel them. And then you could come in and actually do some highlighting like you would with chips, right? Now doing this on a skull is kind of is weird because the skull itself might have these cracks in it, right? But, you know, you could come in and do something like this where you do a little bit of highlight on the lines themselves.
Yep.
If you wanted it to look like it was rough marble. You know, once you polish it, these ridges wouldn't exist. They would disappear into the smoothness of the surface. So, but you could come in and highlight like this too if you wanted to.
Nice. Yeah. That makes a big difference.
Cool.
Marble.
And you could shine it too if you wanted to have it more polished. Then you wouldn't highlight the cracks, and you could do like non-metallic metal. You could do some bright highlights along the edges to make it look like reflection. Up to you.
Ogre says, "So awesome! Thank you again."
Definitely.
Oh, I love it when he just pulls that texture trainer out that's been Oh, how'd I do, Jason?
These are tiny heads.
I tried. This is what I'm talking about. How do you do this?
We're going to paint tiny heads.
Okay.
Chris has been asking, other people said, hey, I have a really hard time with doing faces at scale. A lot of the faces that we do are much bigger, right? Whether they're on busts or whatever. But and a lot of times when we do smaller faces, we go really quick because it's either not a focus. But a lot of people want to know about the ways that, you know, you can paint. So I plan to do 3 of these. We could probably do 5, but we'll do 3 of these Space Marine heads, and we'll just use we'll do one of them where we do a base coat, a highlight, a wash, and a highlight, just to give you a really fast example of how to do faces. Then we'll take one where we blend everything. So we go through and we blend some colors and layer and work up from the black primer to a finished face without any washes. And then we'll do the third one where we underpaint and glaze. Okay. There's lots more ways to do it than that, but these are the 3 main focuses that you would do. You would have one where you base coat, do some high contrast highlights like we just talked about when doing filters. We'll do some high contrast highlights, then we'll put a filter of a wash over the top, and then we'll re-highlight after the wash. Very basic, really easy to do, gives you a really good look. And we'll teach you some about filtering. So we'll start with that one, okay? So when I'm doing that, I want to start with a darker tone. I like something like a burnt umber, or you could go with dark flesh, right? Let's go with dark flesh just so I can show you the high contrast stuff, right? So actually no, because the wash, it'll be better to do the dark flesh on the layered one because the wash will not give as much shadow over the top of the dark flesh. So let's go with, we'll go burnt umber, and we'll use something like beige red, maybe advanced flesh tone. I'll get some tan flesh out too, and we'll see how that goes. Okay. I think we'll probably do that. We'll get rid of the advanced flesh tone. Okay, so we'll start with burnt umber.
And I'll zoom in for you when you get positioned. Because it's tiny.
Just going to put all these colors out real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not going to do any color mixing. I'm just going to show you what it looks like without mixing. If you want to mix more on this style of painting, you can. Okay, there's never any rules for not doing mixing. I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you just want to get in, paint your army real quick, do small scale faces, and what kind of result you will get. Okay. Doodly-doo-doo.
Okay. Let me zoom in for Jason.
Yeah, I'll be right about here.
Okay.
Zoinks. Can you get the super punch?
Then
this will be easy to keep on frame. Or easier, right?
Yep.
So not a whole lot of wetness on the brush is needed. You're just base coating this first one. I'll try to not get it all over the hair so we don't have to cut it back in and we actually get the look it'll have. So I'll take a little bit extra time to just stay in the lines, so to speak. Super easy here.
Come down.
Want a good solid coat. You don't want a lot of the primer showing through anywhere. You don't want, obviously, to miss any spots. You don't have to be super tight with it, though, because we're still going to add enough, even with this style of painting, that we should be able to course correct. So that's pretty good. Burnt umber is a great base coat for flesh. It can go into Asian, Middle Eastern, South American, Caucasian, pretty easy. It's a great mid-tone for like African skin tones. You could go black, brown into burnt umber. Works fantastic. Doesn't give you a whole lot of pink, so you'll still want to go to something that has a pinker highlight, I think. And then I'm going to go into beige red. Much lighter color. I'm going to want to try to make sure I don't wet blend here, because I want you to get the real deal. So we'll give it a second.
We just started
bank account. Now that you find we do minis as well. What? They're cheap though. We make them very valuable.
I do like burnt umber.
Swifter Bear missed the mini head tutorial.
No,
I'm just starting.
That's what I said, Swifter Bear.
It's just starting.
We're super
Jesse, who, yeah, doing them on the model is fine too. You can do the same thing. Chris just made these so we could focus on just the head. Holy cow, you can use paper clips for these and it's a lot easier.
I couldn't find any.
Oh, paper clips?
I couldn't find any.
All right, so then I just want to take the brighter color here. Make sure I don't have a ton on the brush so that I can still get, into detailed areas as I need be. I'm going to do the line of the nose, the nostrils, leaving the pinch of the eye dark. I'll go in and do the top lip. I usually do it all the way across because the wash will handle any of the rest of that. I'll do the forehead, and depending on the way the hair is styled, I will typically leave a little bit of dark color underneath just for contrast. You'd imagine that the top of the forehead would actually be the brightest spot on the model. I'll leave a little poke of darkness at the top of the nose, if I can. Okay. And then I will come over to the temple. Then I will pick up at the cheek. I will leave the temple dark. Pick up at the cheek, under the eye, top of the cheek, the smile line down to the upper lip. Then I'll leave the bottom side of the cheek typically darker, and then come around with the side of the chin or jawline underneath the chin. If the model presents a lip, you can highlight the lip, but don't try to leave a little bit of darkness underneath it. Don't worry about it if you're a little sloppy with your painting. As long as you get the mask of the face done pretty much right, it'll still look good. What you're trying to do is leave enough shadow detail where you can to retain contrast on the details of the face after the wash. Right? So again, forehead over to the temple. No.
There you go.
And across the top of the cheek, and then this kind of, leave that little half moon of shading underneath the cheek line. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Remember, I'm not blending anything here. This is literally just painting one color on top of another color. But it's doing it in a way that is forcing you to have to think about leaving some detail. Like I said, if you're a little messy, not a problem. Keep going. Don't get pissed if you don't leave the little line underneath the bottom lip, or the smile line there, the laugh line. If you darken, or if you get paint in there, don't worry about it too much. The idea here is that if you can get good at keeping your highlight into these shapes and leaving some contrast, it allows you to make even poorly sculpted faces look better. Because you can imagine some of the, like, GW does a pretty good job. They exaggerate the features and have really big shelves of cheeks and, you know, stony jaw with a lip and all that. So they over exaggerate it because they know that will catch paint better. You might get some models, Bolt Action's notorious for their models not capturing good details. They're kind of more rounded details, and so they get lost.
Yeah.
So this will allow you, if you're used to painting the mask of the face this way, dark color underneath, bright color over the top, do the forehead, the nose, leaving a little pinch at the top of the nose, darkness in the eyes, and then that little top of the cheek over, shadow underneath, just all the stuff you've seen me do.
Yeah.
Then you'll be able to define a face pretty well, leaving the temples dark and all that kind of stuff, right? He's weird because he only has one ear. This one has the helmet thing on it, and this one doesn't. So I don't understand what's really going on with this guy, but
they're very interesting.
Okay, so we're doing this the simplest way possible. So now I'm going to take maybe just use flesh wash. Flesh wash.
Oops. We're very zoomed in, chat.
Use any wash you want. I would not use black wash here. Do brown wash, flesh wash. Depending on the skin you're going for, you could use the petroleum or the brown gray wash. The brown gray wash is going to give you a very dirty look to it, which is cool.
Okay.
Right? So you could play around.
Yep.
You could do a Payne's gray wash on this and then a flesh wash if you wanted. I'm not trying to get to I'm trying to show you really simple stuff, right? So just flesh wash over the top, give it enough time to dry. One of the problems, again, when painting something that's so small, especially if you're painting a Space Marine, this is probably the only flesh on the Space Marine.
That's what I was saying.
So if you go real fast, because this is a very quick method, if you go too fast, when you put the wash on, it will blur your paint. It will mix your paint for you. It will reactivate your paint and start to wet blend it. So you got to make sure you give yourself enough time. So typically I would paint this and then move off to something else, you know, while the face dried and all that. We're going to move pretty quick here, and I'm going to hopefully not over wet it.
I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
Where I think I moved too quick.
Yep. If you paint too fast, it can wind up causing all sorts of problems. Okay. I'm going to get a lot of water on my brush, and I'm going to get my flesh wash mixed up over here. This will allow me to kind of put it on in a way that I can use it as a multi-stage filter, right? Get that water.
Is that pretty thin?
Get a brush load over here. It's very thin, yeah.
Yep.
Get a brush load. I'm not going to wipe it off. I want to use all of this, right? So then I'm just going to stage it top to bottom. Boom. Right. Now this, because of the shape of the forehead, caught a little bit too much wash up on the forehead. So I'm just going to, I clean the brush off, and then I just wipe the brush across the forehead. Too easy. And now you see why we left those areas with darkness is so that the wash now collectively even darkens that up more and stretches those dark areas into blended shadow. Right? We left the burnt umber in spots. The wash and the burnt umber are going to be very close in darkness when I put them on there, but the wash will extend the burnt umber into more detail. Yeah. So you can see how the dark area at the temple going into the eye floating into the side of the nose, the fact that we painted the nostrils will still poke out, but now it all looks like shadow that makes sense, right?
Dang it. It's great.
Yeah, it's too easy. That's two colors in a wash.
It's time. It's patience. It's going in and doing those details that you just did and not trying to go quick with it.
Right.
That's it.
Right. It's showing you that even in simple steps, like when we say, hey, this is really simple, it's two colors in a wash. That second color you still want to take some time with it to put it in the right, to create little shapes on the face. Like I said, not every model captures the upper lip and the laugh line.
Yeah.
Right? It just is kind of weird, and the mask of the face goes from cheek to cheek and just has a gash in it for a mouth.
Yeah.
But if you do what I just did and you leave a line there, then it doesn't matter what the sculpt is. You will get the wash will make this look for you. You'll get those laugh lines across the top of the upper mandible there, right?
Yeah.
Now that's a lot of wash, so it's going to take a minute to dry. Give me your thing back.
That's okay. I mean, now I've done this where wash off.
You got to when you start. Okay, so this is a good point here, right? So you want to start start your thing, and I'm going to hold it way back here. Right? Like I'm 2 feet away from the model. Because, wind against the model will move the paint around.
I've totally done that. Where I try
snap back in close?
Yeah, 1 second.
It's not changing anything.
Yeah,
It's just making air move in the room, really.
Yeah.
The room being the cubic foot of air or two around the model. Yeah, if you put this up close, because this thing blows hard enough to, blow my hair around, so.
Yeah, honestly, Ogre, I know it's so simple, but it's my patience sometimes, where I just need to take a second.
Trust me, sitting on the stream, patience is really, really difficult because I just want to get it, especially when people ask me to do like marble.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, it wet blends, because we're moving so fast.
But this is I wouldn't do anything different. Like, I don't need to. This is great. It's this right here, the laugh lines, is what sells it for me. Like that, how the wash goes in.
Well, believe it or not, that's also the fact that, we left the eye sockets dark and the temples dark, because if you look at it from this profile, look at the temple.
Yeah.
Right? Our flesh wash is really good too, and really loves these two colors, right? So burnt umber, beige red, and flesh wash are tremendous for a more kind of mid dark tanned flesh.
Yeah.
Make sense?
And you totally could use your airbrush too to dry them off, right? You've done that before, Jason.
If the airbrush is on, I like the airbrush better because it's at a much lower pressure than any of these things that are meant to blow dirt out of keyboards and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what that's for.
Yeah.
Just happened to that we did. Okay.
Yeah.
So would you just let this dry?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is that.
We'll
stage.
highlight it again.
Oh, you will?
Yeah. The one thing that I tell you is after you do this, don't let the wash ever be the last thing you do.
Okay.
Okay. We'll come back with a highlight, but it will be a very light. You don't have to do a whole lot.
Okay.
And you could choose, like if they're doing an army and you just want to get stuff on the table fast, this could be it.
I mean, it looks so good.
It could literally be 2 colors in a wash if you get that second color highlight placed on there. But remember what I was just talking about with the other person in chat that asked about filtering the color on their tank and how they lost the modulation, which by modulation they mean the contrast and the blending between panels on a tank or whatever it is. What you saw me do is I use a very bright color and a very dark color for flesh. Like these 2 colors, we would not normally just paint one over the other. We would mix the 2 of them in between.
Yeah.
Right. When we layer, we would mix these 2 to get a third color, or insert another skin tone like advanced flesh tone in between there that was in the value in between, so it doesn't have so much contrast. Yeah. Because it's dark to really bright, which for normal flesh, you don't want that kind of contrast on there. But we went into it knowing we were going to apply a filter, aka the wash. Washes are filters. Glazing is a filter. The transparents can be used to filter. There's all sorts of ways to filter color, airbrush or non. And we knew we were going to apply a filter. The filter blends the 2 colors and helps there look like there's a third color in between them.
Yeah.
As long as you use the right wash.
Okay.
Right? But even black over this would create a color in between them. It would also gray everything out and not make it look right.
Yeah.
But, the flesh tone adds in a little bit of the reddishness. Pop in super. Can we get any closer?
Yeah,
This is what we get.
No, 1 second.
Yeah, there we go.
1 second. I got to readjust the frame here. There it is.
Right?
It's super, super zoomed in. There it is.
Right? But yeah, you could just choose to leave it that way.
I mean, it's... But that extra little highlight's gonna look great. That's a great.
So then I will take the same beige red. I put out a brighter tan flesh here, but in this case, let's keep it simple. Just 2 colors. Let's go back to beige red because the wash over the top of the colors we've used right now has made it to where the beige red no longer exists on the model as that color. You don't have any pure beige red on the model right now. So when I go back with beige red, you're going to be able
Can
to
you come
tell.
down a little?
What's it? Oh, yeah.
I'm really zoomed in.
So if I want to do this, I just want to grab a little bit of highlight at the top of the nose. I typically want to do this highlight area right across the top of the forehead,
Okay.
right? And maybe drag that down a little bit right to the top of the eyebrows. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I probably want to grab a little bit over here on the cheek. And then a little bit on the chin. And then if you're brave, grab that pinch at the nostril.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right down the laugh line, and I'm deliberately moving my brush stroke from the area of the nostril down to the mouth so that it picks up that little shine, right? And then you're literally done.
That's great. I mean, that's super zoomed in. That's what it looks like from there.
Yeah.
And Ogre, great segue. Do you do the eyes at this point, or this is where you're like...
Good question. Let's do this. Let's. One thing you can do to make it appear that there are eyes. Oh, I'm grabbing the tan flesh, which I don't want. I don't want to go bright.
I'm gonna zoom back in.
Right. So one thing we can do is you'll notice on the GW models especially, it gives us the ability to kind of get the lower eyelid.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. That gives the impression of an eye, but you don't have to paint an eye. Right. I try not to go in and paint eyes on models of this scale. It gets to where you can mess up a lot of things a lot easier than actually doing it. But I've shown you in the past how to paint the eyes if you wanted to. Right in this
It gives the illusion at this level, right? Like from right there.
Yeah.
I mean, from there, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's even zoomed in. But when you're not, your face ain't getting that close to the model.
But see, it's like the pinch of the eye. You don't even care. It's just getting that underneath of the eyelid is enough.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would probably get the top of the ear too, since he has one ear for some reason. You might try to, if the ear is actually sculpted, you could get in there and get a little bit right there.
Yeah. Like a little bit of the, inner ear.
The doohickey. But that's all the highlighting you have to do. Right? So we did the forehead, right in the middle of the forehead to the brow.
Yep.
Right? The top of the cheeks, the chin.
Uh-huh.
Right? I don't even do the upper lip because of the nose, the shadow from the nose.
Okay.
So I don't even worry about it.
You don't
right?
do it.
So forehead, nose, but not the tip of the nose. You just want to get the part of the nose that's up here by the eyes, right? Leave the tip of the nose a little bit darker because it tends to get flush with red, right?
Yeah.
Top of the cheeks, chin, top of the ears if they have them. Boom, done. And then if you've got the sculpt to do it, then you can go in and do the bottom of the eyelid there to make it appear like it shoves the eye into focus a little bit more, but it makes it like a pinched eye in shadow.
Yeah.
And boom, there you go, face. So that was actually two colors, right? That was burnt umber and beige red. Boom, right? Burnt umber, beige red, great for this. And then flesh wash, which I put back. And flesh wash. That was it. And then, so burnt umber, beige red with a highlight like I showed, and then you do the flesh wash, and then the beige red again to do the final highlights. And you get a ton of brightness on it. You get really good contrast on the face so that it shows up. It should look good with any color armor or whatever you're doing. If you were to find yourself in a position where at the end, when you put the model together, you weren't happy with the contrast, then you could obviously go and add something like tan flesh that's even brighter.
Yeah.
And you could do tan flesh on the forehead and maybe the top of the nose.
Yeah.
Right.
If you wanted it darker.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 1.
Wow.
2.
Okay, so what's
this guy also just has one ear. What's going on with these guys?
They're all they were the most baldy face guys I could find.
It's weird that one side has the little helmet side thing still attached to it, and the other one doesn't.
Now,
very strange design concept on those.
Now, what's the approach to this next one?
Let's do the one with the mouth open. This one's just layering.
Okay.
Okay.
They're just layering.
Just layering. So what we're going to do here is I'll do all the same colors so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll use the same color palette for each one so you can tell at the end which way you might want to try. So here, again, I'm going to, because the thing we're going to lack is the darkness of the flesh wash, so we're going to add dark flesh as a base.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go to burnt umber, and then the beige red as a highlight on the last one needs something in between it. So I am going to inject shadow flesh here, which will add a little bit more pinkishness on this guy than the other one did because we don't have that color.
Okay.
I could just mix these two, but I'm going to show you with just colors and no mixing because I'm going to try to keep mixing out of it for now to show you what you can do with just the colors you have. Okay. So we will get the reddishness that we create from the flesh wash between the dark flesh and the shadow flesh, but it might be a little more pink and give us a little bit more realism to play with the layering because of the shadow flesh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to use these, no wash. This is it. And we might even go to a higher highlight. Just depends on when we get there.
Okay. All right, I'm going to zoom back in real quick. There you go.
So dark flesh to start. Same way I did the other guy, right? We're just base coating. There's nothing really special about how I base coat unless I specifically tell you that, hey, on this model, I want to do a wet blended base coat, which is fun sometimes, but not necessary. Especially not on something of this scale. There's just not a lot of space to play with here. So the more complicated you try to make your application technique, the more chance you run into just muddying your colors and not ending up with a good feel at the end.
Yeah. So why didn't you start with the burnt umber this time? Just because you want to...
I need a darker shadow.
Even darker, yeah.
I need a darker shadow because the flesh wash added in a lot of darkness. Because I'm not using a wash, I won't get that darkness here.
Right.
So I have to make sure that my base layer now, because I'm not using a filter, my base layer has to do all the shading. Right?
Yep.
Hope that makes sense for everybody.
No, it does. What about the inside of the mouth?
I'm not going to worry about it right now.
Okay.
I would typically use something like burgundy on that.
Okay.
I guess we probably well, no, I think for this example, the mouth is going to be highly irrelevant.
Yeah, that's fine.
The other ones don't have an open mouth, so I'm not going to paint it. But normally I would just do like burgundy in there, and then we would do the teeth at some point, right? Which we may have to do that here at the end. We'll look at it and see if it looks complete enough. But
yeah.
Right, so you'll notice straight out of the gates that what that represents is that darker shadow that the flesh wash created. We're doing that with the layering mentality. So we just have that dark recess under the cheeks and such will happen on this guy because of the colors we're putting there.
Maybe we'll show you how to do stubble.
Now I'm going to, as I've shown you in my Just Do This video, I'm going to use the first layer of color here is going to be fairly thin. This is also still wet, so I don't want to...
You want to wait.
Yeah.
Smoke if you got them.
You want to give yourself the time. Chris made a really good point. Being patient and letting your paint dry will solve so many problems for you as a painter. Sometimes we work so fast, and then when you work thin as well as fast, you wind up blending and muting colors because you're tearing your paint and mixing it with the color you're trying to apply, and that will immediately desaturate and lose contrast. Okay? All right, so then what I want to do is take this burnt umber again. Now I'm going to kind of very lightly, I'm using more of a feathered brush stroke, but same thing, leaving the temple alone. I can back up at the top of the cheek. Now this time I'm going to paint the whole nose and get that little lower eyelid, top of the cheek, jaw, into the chin, upper lip. I'm covering up completely the laugh line and everything, whereas with our highlight, we left some darkness in these areas. This one we're not. We're just going to let the dark flesh exist in what would be the darkest areas, which is the eye, underneath the cheek, and the temple for what we're doing here. All the laugh line and everything will get burnt umber, of course, underneath on the jaw. Once we've got the first layer on, go back and just make sure I dial in and get good color on everything. You'll see how close these are in value. And I'm not doing the underside of the chin with the burnt umber. I leave the underside of the chin alone where I painted the dark flesh.
Or just shadows?
Yeah, just for shadow.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, those colors are hard to discern. But there you can, right? When he gets in close like that, you can tell.
We're so punched in.
Okay. Then we're going to go to shadow flesh. I got to get some shadow flesh out here. I don't have any.
You just do non-metallic metal on the service stud.
On his grill?
On his grill.
Is Tim in here?
No.
Tim's like, what about his grill?
What are the colors used in different races like Caucasian? I can see, but African Asian.
How do you... What's the question? What are the colors used in the different races like Caucasian? I can see, but African Asian. I don't understand the I can see, but African Asian. We're kind of painting Caucasian skin here, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is. This is what I'm
definitely
doing.
More Caucasian. Where you might have just joined in M3
to
Stout.
do African and Asian flesh tones, it's typically you will start darker. Asian could come off of what we're painting here, right? You just wouldn't go to such a maybe not as pale. It depends, because Asian's a weird tone because Asia includes India and you depending
It's
on where
very
you
vast.
in the Eurasian continent where you delineate. You've got some reddish browns in the Indian, which the dark flesh, burnt umber, and then mixing in like tan flesh in on that works really well. And then you've got lighter skin tones. Like if you look at Chinese skin tones and things like that, it's basically Caucasian. Every now and then it has a little bit more of an olivey tone, depending on which end of the Pacific Rim they're living on. But it also gets to very dark skin tones, like in the Himalayas and stuff, right? So you have, when you start looking at human skin tones, they are not racial.
Yeah.
Right. They until you get to the subcontinent of Africa, right? Because the African subcontinent, you wind up having darker flesh there than just about anywhere else in the world. Although South America competes but has more red in it generally. And then in Africa, you would start with like black brown and then use dark flesh mixed in with black brown. So you get a little bit more of the reddish, because we all have red blood. So we're still going to flush the same color, just less of the pink and the red show through, the more melanin and the more opacity there is to the flesh. the less as you move to colder climes and lighter flesh tones, then it's more pink. And then it's just a determination of how pale you're trying to go, right? All right, so then we take Shadow Flesh. Shadow Flesh is a color we didn't have in the other one, but we'll continue on with here. And again, I'm always just starting with putting color across the forehead, eyebrows, nose. Now, this is kind of being done the same way I did the highlight on the other face.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to start leaving areas of color untouched. So I'm going to leave more of my darkness showing. And things like the laugh line, I'll leave a little bit of the wrinkle above the eyes like that. I'm using a semi-wet brush here. I'm not taking all the moisture off. I want the paint to flow pretty well. And kind of a medium opacity. Again, I want to get like the nostril and then the area coming off of the laugh line down to the chin. The upper lip. Might leave the cleft in the lip right below the nose there. But I want to leave my darker colors in the laugh line to get that contrast. I could paint the lower lip here. Typically, I would then go back with a very brief filter of like a burgundy or something on the lip.
Nice.
So this, like anything we do when layering colors, it's putting smaller amounts of paint in between the previous paints that you've used. You just have to be careful to leave yourself enough of the previous color showing to have made it worthwhile doing, and enough space of this color to put another highlight color on if that's what your plan is. He's got service studs, so this side's going to look a little funky as I hit the service stud there. Pull my brush down to the jawline so that I maintain some of the darkness up underneath like that.
Yep.
So just very quick brush strokes, all moving down towards the ridge of the jaw. Like I said, constantly evaluating if I have enough color here so that when my highlight goes on, it has enough spot to show. I'll broaden some of these areas up with color across the cheek and such.
There it is. Nice.
And then into my beige red.
Okay.
Beige red like we did before. Again, I'm just going to stretch across the top of the forehead here. It's up to you if you want to try to paint eyebrows. I typically don't, believe it or not. I find that models at this scale don't typically look like they have alopecia if you don't paint the eyebrows.
Okay. So you avoid that typically?
Yeah. A lot of models don't have a very good.
Well, the way the shadow is,
The shadow on the eye takes the place of the eyebrow.
It looks like it
for
though.
me. Yeah,
I just really technically noticed that they don't have eyebrows.
a lot of them don't have eyebrows sculpted in.
But I mean, look at from there. I don't need.
Yeah, it looks like it does because, like I said, the shadow of the eye socket winds up being the pinched eyebrow. Because of course, Space Marines are always growling at you. So
they're always like, ah!
yeah, exactly. Okay, so just the top of the nose. Then we want to come over to the side here and get the cheeks. Again, this is just patience. This is just making sure you don't put too much paint on. Taking your time. Get the brush set in where you want it. Notice how I'm taking a lot of brush strokes before I start putting enough pressure to get color. So I make sure I don't just jam a ton of color into an area that's that small. Sometimes that's frustrating because, like you saw, the paint dries up because I'm sitting here waving the brush in air.
Yes.
As opposed to on the model, but don't get frustrated with it.
Yeah. Just a little amount of paint.
Oh my God, at this point, yeah.
Well, and that's, yeah, what I need to practice on, right? It's just this is a size 1 brush you're using?
Yeah, size 1. And I am going to grab just the side of the mouth because of the way the mouth is positioned. On the other mouth, I didn't because all of the lip was under the nose. On this one, because he's screaming at us,
yeah,
it pulls some of the mouth up here into a level where I probably want to give it some highlight just to the sides that stick out from under the nose like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's so funny because I do have to remind myself this is the scale, right? And that's you can still see the definition from here, right?
Well, you're exaggerating it to some extent so that when you do get it on the table, you can tell that he's screaming and that, you have some of this coloring going on. So yeah, it's always up to you as to how much you do, but I'm just showing you that with, a handful of colors, you can get a lot done.
I know, little Billy. The zoom out was hardly a reality check. It's yes, even on my zoom out, it's still not. I mean, it's still pretty zoomed in.
Top of the ear. Yeah, that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
So now you have.
I love both versions. I definitely can. You definitely can see that this one has like the cheekbones are more defined. Like I can tell from up here. I can really. That's where you can really tell what you did when like this right here. That part on the would be his right cheek.
Mm-hmm.
That really gives a good definition to it.
Yeah, pop in super close.
Yeah.
So with less of the wash to do any blending, you're doing that all because of the colors you're using in between. I'm noticing I didn't bring his laugh line down far enough as I hold them up next to one another.
What do you mean his laugh line? Oh, okay, I see. Maybe
this little pinch.
Oh, let me.
Right here.
Oh yeah. Okay. Panic Bomb says make them kiss. No. It's a serious business paint stream.
Yeah, more like that. Just a little bit more of a blend of the highlight coming down.
Oh.
touch of these are weird because it doesn't really have the cheek doesn't really attach here like it should. Like that cheek should be hitting that area where I have the laugh line more. Like so. And the sculpt just doesn't really have that spot right well. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this one will be the one that looks the most different because we're going to underpaint this one.
Okay.
A lot of people always ask, does my underpainting style work on heads this small? And we've shown it before, but I'll show you again. It does, yes. So I am going to get...
Somebody was mentioning that's kind of what Vincey V does too.
Get red oxide?
Oh.
What does?
Just underpainting faces with greens and such.
Yep. I'm going to get the dark purple, and bismuth yellow. Okay.
Okay, so no green.
I'm going to just use yellow.
Okay.
The green tends to not have as big an effect. You're looking for the yellow portion of it, but the green works well at larger scales. I'll go like bright yellow green and then yellow on top of that.
Yeah.
I'll not do the green on this one. We'll just go straight to the yellow.
You just bypass it.
And show you. Yeah.
Okay.
At scale. You could use the green if you're the bright yellow green if that's what you want.
No.
I won't. And then we'll use the same skin tones. You'll find we won't use as many.
Okay.
This is the one that should give us a better 5 o'clock shadow.
Why would I do it this way?
Just because you like it?
Is it purely that?
It can give you more of a realistic look.
Is there a benefit to doing it this way for
Realism.
realism? Okay.
Yeah, realism.
I can't wait to try this on my halflings. But which one will I do, chat?
See, you could use all of them, and then all of your models look a little different, and it
Oh.
brings some variation to the game.
I take it all back.
Look at that. You've done this to yourself, Chris.
No, of course.
All right. So, first things first, purple. Well, same way we've done on all the rest of them. We're just going to base coat in purple. So this is reflecting the colors of the stuff that's underneath your skin.
Okay.
Guts and veins and things. Okay. So if it's your first time looking at this type of underpainting, people call it grisaille. There's a word that starts with V that I can never remember. A lot of paint loaded up in that eye socket, so I'm going to wipe some of this excess off. Dry a little faster.
Yes, Dripstick, it was the bismuth yellow he pulled.
Yep. Purple. Red. In the form of the burnt red. And the red is going to go from the temple area across the forehead. And basically live from the cheeks upward is the easy way to think about it. Except I don't put it in the eye socket on this scale. Whereas I normally would on a larger model. I leave the eye socket purple because that's where we're going to get that darkness from. The nose, all the way across the cheek, get the ear. Forehead. The whole mask except for the eye socket.
Batman.
Gonna look really weird. We can a little down into the laugh line, but this kind of detail at this scale really doesn't matter. I typically just stop at the cheek. And yeah, it is. It's kind of like painting Batman's mask, right? Get the upper lip if you want. Get the bottom lip if you want to. Okay. Okie doke. And yellow.
And do you leave it a little wet intentionally here?
You can. This if it blends a little bit isn't going to be the end of the world. So
okay.
The yellow we treat like the highlight on the other flesh that we've done, where we paint kind of across the forehead, right, top of the eyebrows.
I zoomed in there. Nice. Yep. Okay.
Right. This can be fairly messy. You don't want it to be super messy, right, with tons of brush strokes, but it doesn't have to be awesome blends or anything like that. Yeah, that red on the forehead's a little bit too damp still, so I'll leave that alone for a second. And then I'm going to get just the top of the cheek. And that spot where we would highlight the nose, not the tip of the nose. Leave the tip of the nose red.
Small amount. I like how you have your brush very flat right now.
Yeah, this is how I talk to you about doing a chisel shape.
Yep, this is very chiseled.
I've intentionally pulled my brush into a chisel shape so that I've got a very flat and directional way to attack the model here. Okay, that's about it. Get that kind of almost like a raccoon mask painted on him. And the one ear, which is really weird for these guys. Don't understand it, really. Okay, there you go. Yellow, red, purple. You've seen me use green and burnt red and dark blue, dark gray blue. You're going for a cool color where the beard line is and for the shadows of the eyes and things like that. The red is the flush areas, so the underneath and top of the cheek to some extent, although the very top of the cheek we want to have with the brightness on there. And then the temples, right, where it gets a little flush and red. You can imagine if you're embarrassed, it's the red areas, which you could leave the ear more red than I've done here, too, if you want.
Yeah.
We'll take a little bit of the red and glaze it back over the lobe of the ear here. Oh, he doesn't have an ear on that side. Rip. Take the opportunity to poke a little bit more red on there. All right. Skin tone. So on this, let's use the same colors. We don't need the dark flesh because we already have the shadows baked in with the purple and the red. Okay, so remember, the dark flesh took the place of the shadows that were formed by the wash, and now we've also painted the shadows in with dark purple and the red already. So we already have the shadows under the cheek and the temple and the ear, the way that we did with the dark flesh. So we don't need the dark flesh, so we're going to go straight to the burnt umber again. Now, when glazing a skin tone over underpainting, you want a medium value color. By medium value, dark flesh would be a dark value, right?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Dark flesh would be a dark value. Burnt umber would be a medium value. And then something like the beige red we're using would be a bright value. Okay, just to give you the scale. Remember, we talk about value from 0 at black to 10 at white. Dark flesh is probably a 7 or 8. Burnt umber is probably about a 5. And beige red is probably about a 3. So a 3, 5, 7. And you want to kind of, if you're glazing with a 7, it's going to turn into a 5. If you're glazing with a 5, it's going to turn into a 3 when it goes over the colors. They'll go darker over your dark colors and brighter over your bright colors. So you want to kind of start with a mid-tone value color, right? Because this will allow you to get a brighter flesh tone over the yellows and a darker flesh tone over the purples and the reds. So burnt umber it is, given the colors that we're working with. I'm trying to stay in the same color family that we've been playing with here, so that at least at the end you can tell. Because if I just use different flesh colors on all of them, I don't think everybody understands the difference in the technique.
Okay.
That's why I'm using the same colors for all of these.
I see what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Yeah, we're
But
using
this is-
the burnt umber, the beige red on all of these. And then we added dark flesh for shadows on the layer one, and we'll go back to just burnt umber and beige red on this one.
And now you're going to glaze, right?
This is glazing. So this is where I'm coming in here. My paintbrush is loaded with water. See how wet it is? It's just all the water that it took out of the cup when I cleaned it. I'm going to come over here to the beige red, and I'm going to pull a tail out. Can you pull up the palette real quick? I'm going to just touch the side of the paint droplet here and pull out as much paint as I think until I get it to where I believe my opacity is correct. I can tell because I've been doing this so long. There's not a real great way to tell you. You'll notice that obviously you can see a lot of the palette underneath this, so you know that it has less opacity. But once I pull some paint down here and all this wetness, then I'm coming back over on my thumb palette. I have the beauty of having my purple, my red, and my yellow here, so I'm just going to go over that, and bingo, that's the right level. Okay? Because that's what I want to do. I want to have my glaze affect my colors about like you're seeing here. Basically like a thin layer of dirt over the colors for the first pass. Right? But I want to get rid of most of my moisture. And then I'm going to just hit the whole face. Boom. You can immediately see it having an effect. It will brighten the purple, kind of be right in line with the red, and darken the yellow. And we just want to get everything in the eye sockets, in the mouth, everything.
Okay.
Right? Super ugly. Makes no sense.
You did really you had a lot of water on your brush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thinned the crap out of that color. Right?
I just don't thin enough.
Yeah, you want your first layer to not have much effect. It just darkened everything and shifted it a little bit towards that umber color.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a whole lot of effect on the first pass.
Yeah.
You also don't want to put a lot of liquid on it, right? You don't want to flow so much that it beads up in the eyes and things like that. So this first one, I mean, pop in real close. This is horrible looking. Right? Like, oh my God, my 3-year-old cousin painted this. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's worse than, I mean, it's Arizona colors actually, but it's like a clown suit. What are you doing? Right?
Yes, we're definitely in that trust the process stage there, Lothar.
So then I'll go get more paint. We'll come back over here on my thumb, and then I'll look and I'll go over the same area and notice how, okay, that's getting me more into my flesh tone.
Okay.
Take moisture off so that when I come over here, I'm basically just adding another thin layer. I'm still going over everything. I probably won't put more in the eye socket, maybe this one pass, but then I'll be done with the eye socket.
Yeah.
Now you can see over here on the pinch of the eye and the lips where we're starting to move towards a really dark skin tone. This is one where you have to have patience, because if you overwork your wetness, it will completely screw you.
That's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
I would just go too quick. I'm like, okay, I think it's dry enough. I just got to wait.
You don't have hardly any pigment on the surface, and what pigment you have is so thin that the acrylic that bonds the pigment to the surface is very light when you glaze.
Yeah.
When you're thinning it like this, so the paint never gets really strong.
Yeah.
Until you build it up.
Yeah.
So if any one layer is gone over too quick, you just basically lift that whole layer. You might not see it. You might not notice that you've torn it all off, but you'll never see your color build up right. Right?
Yeah. I think that the way you put it right there, yeah, I just don't, it's like, yeah, it's just not cured. It's just not ready. You wouldn't do that on anything else when you're painting something like a wall or whatever. Obviously, it's not a wall, but it's just a good way to put it.
Yeah. Yes, then we just go do it again and again and again. You want to, as opposed to the other ways that I glaze, where I'm always saying, if you can't do it in like 3 layers, you're doing it wrong. This one might take you 4 or 5.
Okay.
Right? You just want to be consistent. You don't want to beat it up too bad. You don't want to go too wet, right? You'll notice that this layer starts turning the whole thing into flesh tone.
Yeah. Huh?
That yellow will survive in certain highlight areas a little bit longer, but now it's starting to make sense.
Little Billy says, I like to batch paint faces like this so I can wait in between heads. Just thinking about that.
Very light brush strokes. I'm not trying to
Get too crazy.
well, if you push too hard, your chances of moving your paint around are much better too, right? So you got to remember that.
Yeah. There's a lot to it.
So that was 3.
And you would still probably keep going.
Yeah, I got to do at least one more.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the yellow. The red and the purple are starting to look good. You can start to get the feel for the flush area of the cheek and the 5 o'clock shadow. The purple's still too dark, right? That's not natural skin tone. The yellow is the one that's still sticking out as being a little weird.
Derpstick says, can you glaze any of the skin tones underneath this question mark? And I bet you mean over this.
Over, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here's stage 4.
Do you do highlights after this glazing too? You
Yeah.
do, right.
Yep. Yeah, you won't get everything you need. What you're trying to do right now is get that base coat that is more rich and has depth like skin really does.
Yeah.
Because when you look at your own skin, none of those colors are on top, right? If I have a skin tone, it's this, it's almost like beige red, right? Beige red is kind of my skin tone, right? If you look in this area.
It's pretty close.
Right?
Pretty
and
close.
So beige red is my skin tone, and then I get brighter highlights, but I also have these greenish, purpley blues for the veins and stuff. And then I've got the reds where the capillaries come to the surface when I have tension on the skin, or just from where the flush nature of your skin is on the palm and such, or at the knuckles, right? So all of those colors, if you don't have tattoos, all the coloring is beneath the skin outside of the tannish pink of skin in the case of Caucasian, or the brownishness in other skin tones. But you have those greens and those yellows, right? The fatty tissue is going to create yellowy tones. You've got your blues and purples and all these other things. That's why we underpaint. What we're trying to do right now is just to create this kind of a depth that shows you that the skin is on top of the guts.
Yeah.
That's why we do this.
And how do you worry about where your brush stroke ends when painting these heads?
Yeah. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving anything like open out in the middle of the skin, right? So I'm just trying to close my brush stroke, go to an edge, like down to the jaw here.
And how long would you suggest waiting between coats if you had optimal time? Says Swifter Bear.
I mean, what have we been doing here? Like 2-3 minutes?
Just about 2-3 minutes.
Doesn't take a toll.
I don't think it needs to be any longer than that, right?
Enough time for a few bad dad jokes and a question from chat.
There you go.
Boom. Done. All right, now pop in real close.
Yep.
Right? Because that's starting to do exactly what we want it to do. We've got that 5 o'clock shadow. We've got the flush red on the cheek.
Yep, right here.
Right? We've got the yellowishness of the warmth across the forehead and the ears. So that works pretty well.
Yeah. That's a good base layer or base coat, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're going for, right? Is kind of a more natural, that's a fairly dark tone by using the dark umber, because when we look at the others that we've done, let me grab the head that doesn't have the mouth open there, right?
Yep.
Much darker skin tone, right? Much more Central Asian, Middle Eastern style flesh that we've got going right now without a highlight. But the shadow is there. And then we have much more life to it because of the purples, the reds, and the yellows, which we don't have on these guys. We just use skin tone.
Straight up.
Right? And they look good. But then you look at, but this guy has life. He has like that 5 o'clock shadow. You can tell where the beard would be, right? And where the darkness on the temple would be. This is all just, versions of the same color, which is why I say, painting with a non-standard triad, this looks good, but doesn't look alive. This gives us the basis for the skin coming alive, which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we want to start looking at the, I'm sorry. I went over to shadow flesh. I don't want shadow flesh on this guy, do I?
Using here.
This is beige red. I want to get that very wet, and we're glazing that on the beige red.
Can you send her up? Oh. Perfect.
Okay. On the beige red, again, just using that same motion where we come across the forehead, down the center of the forehead and across the eyebrows, top of the nose, top of the cheeks, nostrils. He's got service studs also. Not doing a good job of keeping him on rails here.
On rail. Well,
in sight.
Oh no, you're good. I've been swapping when you go out. We definitely can see what you're doing though. Especially at this stage right now, like this one's really coming to life. Right?
Yeah.
Drifter Bear says, in this style, would you work up the rest of the exposed skin like this?
Yeah. Yeah, you do it all at the same time, typically.
It's funny, a lot of GW models kind of go
like
back.
A service stud over here, and I don't know what's going on over here.
Kind of like what Jason was saying. Most of this model is probably going to be armor. This is probably the only part of the skin you're going to see. It is with that way. I guess I don't want to say for all of it, but like my halflings do have bare feet and hands, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to kind of apply the same thing, right?
I'll work back and forth with these two colors as I get the lighter color over the darker. Now when I go back with burnt umber, if I do the burnt umber very lightly on the cheek and chin, it will start to blend these colors, and the umber will have a brighter version of itself sit on the model. Okay. So I can use it as a smoothing filter kind of a thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But notice how we still have the purple and red undertones on the cheek. You don't want to do so much that you cover all of that up.
Yeah.
Obviously. But you're getting more of a, what would we call it? More of a lifelike And sorry, this way is much messier, so my hairline is all goofy as I'm getting color up in there.
All right. How dare you?
How dare I? Again, just a little bit more dark umber over the top of that.
Hmm? Yeah. And then you're going back to regular?
The beige red.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just go back and forth with the glazes.
Okay, you just go, that's what I was going to say. You just go back and forth.
Yep.
You come up just a little. Yep. That Chai Cat Chris painting some faces next. Maybe.
I want to go a little bit more opaque. And
There you go. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Imp says, slowly bring your minis in for him to paint on stream. I won't.
me?
Yeah. Jason, it'd be really cool if you did this mini, though, for the people, you know?
You know, people have been wanting to see a tree painted.
No, Gandalf. I enjoy painting my own trees. I can't get enough tree models. I just painted 5 Blood Bowl tree characters, and I'm out of tree characters. That Chai Cat says, still working on trusting the process sometimes. I'm realizing when I go to do my highlights, I worry there's too much contrast, but skin tones really seem to darken a bit as they dry.
They can if you're glazing like what we're doing here. If you notice in the other ones that we did, that wasn't the case.
Oh.
Right? The more opaque your color is, the more true to the bottle it will be. And the less of that darkening you'll get over the curing process. You just got to be a little careful. When we're glazing like we are here, you wind up with a lot more desaturation of your color as you go. And as it cures.
Hopefully you guys are all learning a lot right now alongside me.
And back a little bit of the burnt umber.
Panic bomb, we don't talk about that. You're fired, by the way.
You're fired, by
Banned,
the way.
canceled. Thought Jason offered to paint something for you and you turned him down.
Yep, I did.
No.
And he did.
Nice.
Up and close. Right, so here we have a lot more nuanced color. You can see the warmth of the yellow up around the temples at the pinch of the forehead, right? You've got the purplish grayishness that happens in and around the 5 o'clock shadow, the red on the cheeks.
Yeah.
So this is a great angle right here because you can see a little bit of the warmth of the yellow up on the forehead. The red on the cheeks is very evident, and then you see how we desaturate through to the purple and the grays on the 5 o'clock shadow area. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Right, a little less of the yellow on this side. Right, whereas this guy, still good contrast, right? But all we have on the head on the right is the skin tones.
Yeah.
Right? You've
That's
got the
it.
redishness of the wash and then the various browns of the skin tone. We don't get any of the other color, that nuanced color through there. So these are having, because they're on corks, this is a pain.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. They're very... make them kiss. Mwah. Don't do it. No!
So, and then our layered guy. Here, you know what I need to do?
Yeah, just
Will
put them
these-
all on one.
Will these all stick on
Oh,
one?
no, I glued them, Jason.
Oh, you glued them.
I did that so that you
What
they
are you
didn't fall.
doing?
Well, I was going to cut them off at the end.
Oh, yeah. But
Ooh. It's a trio.
right, so we have the basic,
Yep.
good high contrast, quick for getting your models done.
Yep.
Then you've got the layered version, which gives more blended nuance, right? Better, a little better color control. Not as stark contrast unless you force it. It feels a little bit more natural.
Oh.
And then as you move out of that, then you've got the glazed and undertones, which allows you to push a little bit more of an artistic freedom into the coloring that you have without having to glaze the color over the top of the skin, because that's not how it works. Skin sits over guts. Guts don't sit over skin, well, unless there's a problem like Nurgle. So having the reds and the purples and the yellows be underneath your skin tones by glazing them up is what gives it a more artistic realism, right?
Yeah.
But there you go. There's three unique,
Nice.
but ways to paint that all give you and all with the same colors. Other than this guy has some shadow flesh on him that these two don't.
Yeah.
And this guy has the wash that none of the other ones do. So there are some color mismatches here. And of course, this guy's got the purple and the yellows and the reds. But hopefully you can see the power of why we paint skin the way we do and when you would want to choose to do so.
Thank you.
And look at me, I'm only 15 minutes over.
There you go. Jason, thank you so much. Uh-oh. I did live the mold lines.
That's not me, Rattlecan. That's
No.
that man.
I have no excuse. I really enjoyed putting these on the corks, though, and making them like this, because I'm like, okay, how can I... Yeah, I thought about, like, a thinner wire, but then it'd be, like, bend too easily, right? Or I didn't know if it would, so... This came out
You never
pretty
really
good.
touch them. So
This came out good, though.
yeah, no, I'm really happy with it. I'm hoping that, whenever I'm doing things quick, I hope that I covered all the points of how to achieve the final example, no matter which one you work up and which one you decide to try, or hopefully you'll decide to try all of them, because at scale, my point on these was to show that they work. All of the ways I show you to paint on other models, whether large or small, they all work at this scale. The effort may not be what you want to put forth. I think that one of the best arguments here is that this guy, right, being the fast, poke in, being the fastest method, two colors, a wash, and then a highlight of the second color again.
It looks great.
If you spend the time, this one only requires the time for your highlight to allow the right amount of shadow base layer to show through, so that the wash gets to play with both the shadow layer and the highlight. What most people do is they cover too much of the model with a highlight color and expect too much from the wash, because the wash can't do too much over a bright color. It'll shade the bright color, but it's really where the wash goes from the transition to bright color to dark color that all the magic happens. So you have to have enough of your dark color showing through the bright color, like in the laugh lines, the temples, all the areas here that we had it, right? That then when you put the wash on, pulls it together, because a wash is a great way to do blending. It's a great way to smooth out your work. So it's just a matter of the patience to make sure you leave the wash enough space to do its work. That's the problem with like the contrast paints and things like that, is they just can only do so much over a single color. So contrast and speed paints are much more beneficial over a zenithal, because they do their real work where the bright color hits the dark base, right? As opposed to just over bright. So that's the only thing with this one, is that if you just take that extra little bit of time, then this fast method works great. Then when doing the layering method, then it's just the patience layer by layer to make sure you leave enough of each color showing that it was worth using that color. I say that all the time. If painting at this level, I mean, look at this. That's my pinky fingernail.
Well,
right?
I know.
These faces are tiny.
You got to remember, look at this. Like when I zoom out even further, that's what I was getting at, like this whole time. You need the contrast to make it worthwhile doing, but when layering, you need to make sure that you leave yourself enough real estate for every color to have an effect. Otherwise, you can take some colors out of your process and speed it up even more, right? If you're using 3 colors, all 3 colors need to be able to be seen, whether you're blending or just hard layering or whatever you're doing, right? So that's the key. Pop in a little closer. That's the key with this one, right? And we can see all of the 4 colors we used on this. 4 colors that we used on this. Right? And all 4 colors start. So pop in super close. So you can see all 4 colors show through, because if you look from the dark flesh just on the temple into the burnt umber, the shadow flesh, and then the highlight. So you get all 4 colors in most of the areas where I intended for them to show through. That's what takes the patience on this, because again, I'm using a number 1 brush and just the tip of the brush to get a little bit of color where I want it. And then you're also having to scale your values brighter at the top, more shadow at the bottom, that to leave till your contrast exists. And then on this one, it's all about the glaze, right? This one is all about being patient and just covering the model slightly with the glaze and working the glazes back and forth to get the coloring that you want. And that first, few passes that cover up your purples, your yellows, and your reds to where they don't look like paint on the model. They look like color underneath the skin. So it's that when to stop, because if you go if I'd have gone another layer, there would have been too much of the burnt umber, and it would have covered all of my underpainting colors, and then it's not worth doing them. Right. That doesn't hurt anything. You could just kind of just go from there and layer. But so when you're trying, you don't have to be afraid. If you wind up covering too much, then just layer it. It'll look just as good as this. Nice. Right? You just turn it into a layering head. But if you can leave enough of the color showing, then you wind up with that nuanced color that gives the model more life. Feels like it's actually got a heart pumping blood, or 2 hearts pumping blood for Space Marines or whatever. So playing around with it is your best thing, is just kind of goof around and see that there will be times where, going fast and doing your whole squad or army with 2 colors and a wash is great. It speeds things up. And it would look good. It would look good on my Blood Angels, where I'm spending a lot of time on everything else. It's a quick way to get skin done if you're not comfortable with it. And then as much time as you want to. As a gamer, folks, your fast painting techniques are your favorite things you do on the stream. Oh, yeah, Zilford, awesome. Good, yeah. And sometimes we don't focus on them enough, because I like painting in all ways. There's times where I like to just sit here and just bang out a model and don't care about it, right? It's like we did that Friday Flesh video, right, where I just came in and we're not supposed to tell Chris we painted without him, but we did. We did a stream. Oh, the hate
when you weren't here.
And
I don't know where it is.
It's behind you.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
I like just coming in and goofing off, right? Just playing around and discovering new things, playing with color and all that, and on a model that, I would say to everybody, if you build up a collection of models, that you don't really necessarily have to care about. And so that you can just take some time to practice some quick brush strokes and what happens if I do this, and what if I go back over this and glaze skin tone over him, what if I glaze a flesh tone back over this, what happens?
That'd be a cool green.
Yeah, it would be an awesome, that was my goal, was to glaze over all of this, and then as we were painting, because this was meant to be a high contrast underpaint for a filter over the top.
Yeah,
which I can still do. I just started liking the colors as we built it up, right? Because we used the magentas and all the other colors. And so I was like, oh, this is actually looking really cool like it is. So we'll just kind of leave it alone.
We should keep that for a video about filtering.
Yeah.
That's my side note to me.
Yeah, because that was the goal, and why the high contrast we put it on there is like the dark, because otherwise the muscles look like they're floating in islands, which doesn't work great for final paint. But playing with color and gearing up for a filter is a really powerful tool to have in your arsenal.
Matt was asking earlier about the stock for sable brushes.
Oof, I think we're out of.
I think one just sold. I think we sold out quick of one of them that just
sable ones or twos, but all the other sizes are available. So remember, you can always get the same discount by buying the individual brushes. So the sable sets won't be back in stock before Christmas, because I think number 1 or number 2 rounds went out of stock almost immediately.
It sold
but
so
you can
fast.
buy all of the other sizes that you want. And if you don't want to buy the set, maybe you don't use the number 4, you use 3s and 2s all the time, 3s, 2s, and 1s. You can just buy 3s, 2s, and 1s, and once you get to 4 brushes, you get the same discount as the set. So you don't even have to buy 5. The set comes with 5.
Jason, thank you so much.
Everybody, thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you for putting up with me and watching some paint dry. Hopefully I showed you some good tricks for helping you out with flesh at small scales. It's one of the hardest things to do. It's one of the things that doesn't ever turn out looking quite right when you just do a base coat and a wash or a speed paint. It just always looks flat. So hopefully I showed you some tricks to get more contrast out of it and make it feel as up to par as the rest of the time that you spend painting.
Right.
And not have to be afraid of it. And then you can start working in things that make it more realistic. And I mean, we did all 3 of those inside of the 2 hours and I spent some time on the frameable girl too, right?
Yeah.
On the Duchess while we did that too.
Yes,
so we finished the Duchess.
Sorry. Back out. There we go.
Right. So we've accomplished a lot today.
Yeah, we did.
So thanks for hanging out with me. If you've joined us on one of the raids, thank you so much for sticking around. We'd love to see you back. So hit the follow or the subscribe button. We stream simultaneously on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick Monday through Friday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monument Standard Time here in Phoenix, Arizona. We'd love to see you back. So please hit those follow buttons. Also, check out the links that Chris put up in chat. Our Discord has got over 6,000 amazing artists just like yourselves. Tremendous community, very active, very helpful, insightful. Lots of inspiration to happen there as you look at everybody's projects. And lots of great questions. People don't hesitate to ask questions about everything from Monument product to just standard process and techniques that people use. And, hey, what do you think of this blue? And the community is amazing. They give tremendous positive feedback. Good positivity over there. So please come and join us on the Discord, and then check out monumenthobbies.com and monumenthobbies.eu. We sell from both our U.S. Warehouse where we manufacture everything, and we have a new warehouse in France. So if you're in the EU, you get to shop directly with us on the EU website, and Monument employees will pack your stuff up in beautiful boxes and ship it to you.
That's right.
So much quicker and much easier to get it to you now in the EU. So thank you for all your support over the years. Keeps us alive. Go buy some paint. Stick around. Chris is going to find us somebody to raid and keep your hobby goodness going on. I hope everybody has had an enjoyable Wednesday. We're at Mitvok, Hump Day, and looking to go the downhill slide towards Friday. So we'd love to see you back for the end of the week. I don't know what we'll be painting. What do we paint tomorrow?
We'll think about it.
We'll build something.
Maybe I'll paint it.
Oh.
Maybe.
Who knows? We might have something exciting. So thanks, everybody. Tim got to paint with us instead of driving. Awesome.
That's awesome, Tim.
But thanks so much. Love your faces. Stick around. Show some love in the chat. You wind up in on this raid, and we'll catch you back here mañana. Adios, gang.